literally the thing that I struggle with most is visually for everyone to see, but everyone else gets to hide what they struggle with the most and decide if they share it with someone.
Here's why you're just not your typical content creator, because there's something magical about you. And what it is that you're sharing your real story, your authentic self, and you're bringing that to life. Tell everyone a little bit about your journey.
I've been overweight pretty much my whole life, but just like progressively continuing to gain weight throughout high school and the years after that. It's one of those things, like I was comfortable in my discomfort. Like I wasn't completely comfortable in my body, but it was familiar. It was what I was used to. So I was fine just staying that way. But in my head, of course, like I always wanted to lose weight. There was part of me that knew I was missing out on things, missing out on experiences, on relationships, on life because of my size and the level of my endurance. But it just seemed like a really big thing to change everything, to lose weight, to change the way I created my life around my size. Like I built my life so that I could be as comfortable as possible in the size that I was at and doing what I was doing and living the way I was living. So thinking about changing that was overwhelming, but I slowly started feeling more uncomfortable to the point where I was like regularly thinking about it. For the most part, I could kind of shove it away. Like, oh yeah, it's okay. Like, yeah, this is uncomfortable, or yeah, I didn't fit in that chair, or I had to miss out on that experience because of my size, but like, it's okay, that happens. But then I was just more uncomfortable physically in my body doing things, trying to play with my nephew on the ground. And I just felt like I can't keep doing this, but wasn't really ready to make a full change yet until I had what I call like my rock bottom experience at Disneyland in March 2022.
Okay.
I went to the theme park with my sister's family and my nephew, who was 3 at the time. And he's my favorite person. Now I have 2 nephews, so they're both my favorite people. But at the time, I just had one. And being an aunt is my favorite thing to be. And he's my little best friend. And so even though I knew it was going to be hard, I was almost 400 pounds at the time. And I knew it was going to be difficult on my body, going to a theme park, not being able to do all the rides, and just walking, being on my feet for that long. But I just really didn't want to miss out on that experience with him. So I went, and it got pretty miserable pretty fast. Like my feet hurt, my back hurt, I was sweating. I got a migraine. And so I spent a lot of the day just sitting by myself, relaxing as much as possible, like sitting with my head down, eyes closed, to try to keep the migraine at bay, while my sister's family, like they were out enjoying the park. And I just drove back to where we were staying that night and thought, I can't keep doing this. Like I can't keep living a life where what is supposed to be the happiest place on earth is the most miserable place for me. Like I don't want to live a life where I just can't even enjoy a day at a theme park with my nephew. And so that was the turning point. That was the thing, I guess, that I needed to say, like, I'm going to start making changes now. And I started very small. Every time I had gone into losing weight or getting healthier in the past, it was always like complete overhaul. Like on Monday, I start the gym, I start meal prepping, all the things. And that just sounds so overwhelming, and it's just not sustainable. It's also
Right.
harder to start because you're looking at it as like, oh my gosh, I have to change all of this at once. And then that just feels overwhelming. So this time I just started very small. I said, I'm going to eat one nutritious food a day. I started eating eggs every day. I said, I'm going to move my body in some way every day. And I started just walking like 10 minutes at a time. I'd march in place in my bedroom. I started very small and built on those habits from there as it felt doable and possible for me.
Okay, so many things about this that I love. Number one is that you started small and you were more just really sensible about how you're going to attack this. Because I think it seems to me that you understood at that point, for you to make that long lasting impact, it had to start with small, like bite sized things that you could do to get there
Yeah.
versus a whole chunk think sometimes we go from one extreme to the other, and hence why a lot of us fail. But take me back to you're in Disney, like your mindset at that point. If, am I hearing you correctly that you have had at this point set yourself up or fooled yourself to believe that you were comfortable being uncomfortable?
Yes. Like it was good enough for me. And I truly believe like a lot of times you see before and after
Yeah.
photos, which I don't like those words. Like I don't like thinking of myself as a before and after, like because there is no after. This is all just during. Like
Extension of you. Yes.
yes, yeah. But you see it and they're like always looking so miserable before and
Yeah.
unhappy and that wasn't me. Like anyone in my life would have said, "Oh, Leah is so happy. She loves her life. She's
Okay.
joyful." And that wasn't fake. Like yes, there was a part of me that was missing out on things and was aware of that, but I believe I was as happy as I could have been
Mm.
with the limits that my body and my endurance had at the time. And I was doing as much as I could. I wasn't intentionally holding myself back or feeling sorry for myself, pitying myself, or um, I never complained about my weight or my size or
Yeah.
anything. I lived the best life I could with the limitations that I had, but there was still a part of me that I was just neglecting. I was in denial, really, and didn't want to fully see how much I was missing out on because it would have been too heartbreaking. Like it would have been too much
Mm.
to bear. So I just ignored it. Like I pretended like my weight or health wasn't an issue. I wanted everyone around me to pretend like it
Mm.
didn't exist, like we didn't talk about it, it wasn't brought up. I made myself be okay with where I was at so that I could be as happy as I could be, I think.
So food was filling a void. Do you know what that is?
It's interesting because I do feel like I definitely it's a coping mechanism,
Hmm.
like emotional eating. I do feel like I also just got to the point where it was habit also. Like it wasn't every time I ate something unhealthy or ate too much of something, it wasn't always connected to an emotion. It was just like, this is what we do. Like I wake up and I think, what am I going to get at Starbucks this morning? And then where am I going to pick up lunch? And then what, like, it just was a habit no matter whether I was having a good emotional day or a bad emotional day. It was just like, this is my life. That was what I looked forward to, was planning my meals for that day.
So is there, do
Yeah.
you feel like there's just a misconception when we see heavier set people, like that they're miserable or they're just eating their sadness away? Like from what I'm hearing from you, you are actually very joyous, very fulfilled in many
Yeah.
ways, and
Yes.
didn't did you feel like you were, are you able to look back now and think, oh, I maybe was self-sabotaging or hurting myself, that was not good for me, like my,
Yeah.
just my general health?
Yes. Yeah, I do think there was some self sabotage. And obviously, yeah, I can't speak for all people who are in bigger bodies, but for me, yeah, I wasn't that person. Like I wouldn't have wanted anyone to look at me and feel bad for me um or think anything specific of me
Yeah.
tied to my weight, like that I was lazy or something. I worked hard to build my business and like become a full-time photographer. And people also look and say like, oh, you lack self-control, but it's like, I've never had a drink, I've never tried drugs, like, so maybe I did lack some like we all lack
Right.
self-control in one area. What's unfortunate is that if it's food for you, it's on the outside and not everything else is on the outside.
Yes.
So that's always been something that's literally the thing that I struggle with most, is visually for everyone to see, but everyone else gets to hide what they struggle with the most and decide if they share it with someone. So that was always something that I was aware of. But I don't know if it's the same for everyone in a bigger body. Like if they're happy or sad or if
Yeah.
they're convincing themselves of something. I do believe, like I said, I was living in denial. I was telling myself that I was I was trying to tell myself that I wasn't missing out, even though, like, when I really examined the things that I wanted to do with my life, the places I wanted to travel, I could see this isn't happening. This isn't possible because of my size or my energy or my endurance. And so that kind of just when I first started my journey, started losing weight and getting healthier and feeling better and was able to have more experiences, it kind of just like hit me. Like it was like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been robbing myself of this
Yeah.
whole time. And I never wanted to see that, because then I would have been depressed and sad. And I still don't think it was a fake happy. Like I don't think it was just, I don't know, maybe a naive happiness, not like a forced happiness, but just, yeah, happiness because I wasn't allowing myself to see the whole picture of what I was missing out on.
A couple things come to mind, like how often I probably have misjudged people too. Like you said a few things, I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like, do I think heavy people are lazy? Like, is that a natural thing? Did you ever, you must have felt judged all the time.
Oh, always. And it's one of those things that it's like, it doesn't mean that it's true.
Yeah.
Um, because we can be thinking anything that we're insecure about, we can be thinking or assuming that people are judging us for it when maybe they're
Mhm.
like, oh, I literally don't care at all about you.
Yeah. True. True.
Maybe that's not the case. Um, I think it did become a little more clear to me um, after I did lose a significant amount of weight and started noticing people, strangers talking to me more, men making eye contact with me. Like
Oh.
it kind of made me aware of how I was treated before, because how I was treated before was was all that I knew,
Mhm.
because I had been overweight, I had been obese since high school, since a teenager. So I was only treated one way, and then it wasn't until I remember the first time a guy my age at Whole Foods, he just started like striking up a conversation, and
Yeah.
I was like, what is happening? Like, why are you talking to me? It was just so
Wow.
weird. Like it was noticeable that I'm like, this has never happened to me before.
So how do you go from sitting at Disney feeling like I love my desire to change is now is greater than any excuse. My desire to be around as an auntie and to be part of
Mhm.
my nephew's life and my sister's, this is greater than any excuse, and I will start tomorrow with these small steps.
Yeah.
And you go from there to like, let's go ahead and post on some on social media and like blowing up. That's scary.
It is scary. And that's why it was a long time. So I didn't first share online until I had been on my journey for a year. So I
Okay.
spent a year gaining healthy habits, working on myself in every way. Like I was in counseling. This was not just a physical transformation. Like
Mhm.
it truly was from the inside out as in wanting to be healthy, hormones, organs, all that. Like
Yeah.
didn't want to just lose weight. I wanted to get healthy physically. I also wanted to get healthy emotionally, mentally, all the things. So I needed, yeah, a full year. I probably by 9 months, there was part of me that was like, maybe someday I can help someone. Like
Mm.
maybe someday I can show people like, hey, I was just like you. Like I looked at people losing weight or getting healthier and thought like, oh, sure, it's easier for you for
Right.
whatever reason. Like it's so easy from a distance to say like, oh, but you had this or you had that. And so I just wanted to be like, no, like I promise I really am the same as you. And it has been possible for me. So I know it's possible for you too. But I was still struggling to see the changes in myself by then, even like 9 months into it, probably lost at least 80 pounds by then.
Mm.
Um, and I still couldn't really see the changes in myself physically. So I was like, I'm not going to start posting online where other people are going to be like, what changed? I don't see a difference.
Yeah.
So I just still needed to get to the point where I saw the changes in myself, not only physically, but also mentally and emotionally. And it was around the year mark that both I had lost over 100 pounds by then. I was seeing the changes physically. I was feeling it. I was feeling better, feeling like I was healthier and more free and had more energy. And that's also like at the year mark was when I finally felt like the mindset shifts that I was working
Mm.
on were my new mindset. Like it took a year to tell myself these things every day. And the things I told myself, like all or something is better than all or nothing. So doing something is always going to be better than doing nothing when it comes to your goals, whether it's a health journey or any
Right.
goal. Also, I told myself, like, this is not a temporary diet. This is my new lifestyle. I had to tell myself that every day. Like, I am not just doing this until I reach a certain weight. This is just, these are just my new habits. This is my new life. And I had to tell myself, I cannot rely on motivation. Motivation is fleeting. It's not always going to be here. I have to follow through whether I'm motivated or not. And I told myself these things every day. And it took a year for me to feel like this is truly what I believe now without having to convince myself to believe it. So by that time, I was like, okay, I'm feeling ready. I'm feeling changed. And I'm feeling like I want other people to experience this. And so that's why I started sharing online. I did not at all expect for it to become what it has become. I thought I was going to be sharing to like friends of friends,
Hmm.
friends of family. Like, um, yeah, I did not expect it. And it was hard. Like the first few unkind comments, and I did end up getting a comment that said the video showed probably 120-pound difference. And I got a
Okay.
comment that said, I don't see the difference. And I was like, that's exactly what I was worried about. That's exactly why I was worried. But then I just kept reminding myself, like, I see the difference and I
Hmm.
feel the difference. And that's what matters. And that's why I'm sharing. And that's why I'm risking the criticism and the unkind comments so that I can let other people know what is possible for them too.
So tell everybody how you handle the people who come in with some negative comments.
I mean, I've gone back and forth a little bit, and I haven't
Yeah.
always been the best at handling them. My first viral video was a year ago. That one, it's still my most seen video. It has over 70 million views, and so it was just inevitable that there were going to be, when that many people are seeing
Yeah.
something, like there's going to be unkind comments. And I cried for a few weeks and was like, why am I doing this? Why am I sharing online? Like, why did I risk this? Why did I put the
Yeah.
most vulnerable part of myself out there? But then I absolutely overwhelmingly get more kind comments, more messages saying, you've helped me, you've inspired me, you got me started walking. And I just remind myself, like, that's why I'm doing this.
Mm.
That's why.
So you always say you're not really chasing a smaller body, right? You're chasing this bigger life. So what
Yeah.
does this bigger life look like to you? What does it feel like?
It feels free. That's really what it comes down to is
Mm.
there was just so much that I missed out on. I didn't get to choose. There was so much that my body made the choice for me. Either the size, I physically couldn't fit in a seat. I physically couldn't go on an airplane to travel across the
Mhm.
world, like unless I bought two seats, or I didn't have the energy or endurance to walk from this place to this place. There was just so much that I didn't get to choose. My body and my energy chose for me. And so now the experience is just freedom of choice. I get to decide. I get to say, like, you know what? I can go scuba diving, but do I actually want to? Like, I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll decide. Like, just having the freedom to decide what I want to do.
How many women do you think you've impacted?
Oh my goodness.
Not
I
just
don't
women, men and
know.
women, I'm sure.
I don't know.
It's got to be a lot.
Yeah. And it's the little things like that that I want. Like, that's what I say. Any movement is better than no movement. Like,
Yeah.
it's so easy to say, like, oh, I can't get my whole 30-minute strength training in today, so I'm just going to do nothing. But it's like 5 minutes of walking in place would be better than no minutes of
Yeah.
movement at all. And so it's just the little shifts like that, making sure, like you said, that it feels doable, sustainable. That's what you need. If you are trying to change your life and every day you're like, this sucks, I hate this. And but there were times where I was walking and I was thinking, oh my gosh, I have to do this for the rest of my life. That's horrible.
Right.
But I just continued to remind myself what it's for and how I feel, rather than like focusing on, yeah, thinking of it, it's not a punishment. Like, it's for your body. It's to celebrate what your body can do, what you're able to do, to feel good. And I say, like, I've gotten comments saying like, oh, she finally hated herself enough or something like that. And I'm like, no, like, I could have never hated myself to this
Oh.
place. you can only love yourself to a healthy place. And
Hmm.
so that is such an important piece.
What do you think? You mentioned discipline. It requires the active daily thing. What other things do you think you need to be to successful?
I mean, it's really like I feel like the mindset shifts
Mm.
have been key because you can do anything. Like you can change any external habit for a period of time, but if you're not making an internal shift, if you're not making a mental shift, like you're going to have no reason to continue with that. So I think that's important. Another thing, one of those mental shifts for me is that this is the first time, and I didn't even realize it until I was a little bit into my journey, maybe close to a year in. I was like rereading my journal, and I saw that on my New Year's resolutions list, which like I lose weight has been on that list since I was 12, probably first started writing New Year's resolutions. But this was the first time. So this was the year of 2022. Even though I didn't start in January, like it took that moment
Mhm.
in March for me to get started. But it was the first year that I said I wanted to gain health. So it wasn't about losing weight, it was about gaining health. And that shift changed everything for me because then I what didn't need to be results focused, but rather habit change focused. So I could say like, even if the results aren't coming, I'm still building energy. Like I'm still building
Yeah.
energy and endurance. Like I'm becoming healthier internally. I'm fueling my body better, and I could say like, you know what? I am still gaining health even if the results aren't what I wanted. And ultimately, that was the goal for me, was to gain health.
Literally, some of your videos are like incredible. Everyone needs to go check out your Instagram. Are you also on TikTok?
Yeah, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. It's all at Leah Hope Health.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we're going to include all the show notes on this video so you can check it out. But now your videos, a lot of your videos were such beautiful storytelling through your
Mhm.
journey. How do you convey that to with staying present who you are today?
Yeah. I mean, I hope that I would love to bring people along on any part of the journey, and just because it's still a struggle. Like I don't think I'm ever going to be like done with this,
Yeah.
like that I'm always going to have to keep health, fitness, healthy food like at the front of my mind. And so just bringing people along with that, whatever it is. I am hopefully going into a new season where there will be some changes regarding, I'm hoping to get some loose skin removed. So there will be like, I'll be, I'm planning to document the journey of that and everything. So that's like another big step for me. It's like
Yeah.
this big vulnerable thing that I already shared. And then now I'm like, oh, then that's a whole nother, like, I just feel like there continues to be like, okay, now I'm sharing this, and this is being vulnerable all over again. And
Mhm.
so just sharing as authentically as I can about all of it, continuing to share what has already happened while also taking people along with where I am now and where I'm going. And yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just so proud of you. I mean, I'm not even, I mean, I know you're not a young person, but I'm like, I look at you and I'm just so incredibly proud of you. I think it's because I've known you now for several months and I know that your heart is in the right place. You're so authentically and you genuinely care. And I love that you haven't been holding on to some magic number
yeah,
or like a magic bullet. It wasn't about that. You just understood that where you were at was no longer serving you and you
yes,
needed to make changes and you did it. You did it for yourself and you did it not on your own, but that is so commendable. And now you're using that story to help others, which is like the best of the best.
yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. You're always so kind and encouraging and uplifting. And you're just like such a cheerleader and champion.
Well, I'm here for it. I can't wait to just sit back and watch you just make such a beautiful impact. Thank you for spreading so much love in the world. We need more of you, that's for sure.
Oh, thank you. We need more of you too. We need more of the encouraging, that energy is just so, it just feels like a hug, and you're just such a light. So thank you so much for
You're
having
so
me here to share.